Hello, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time you are in your time zone. Welcome and welcome to day 16 of Feast for the Soul, our 19th year. It's quite incredible. I've been part of the Feast community for about 6 years and co-founder with Sarah McLean for the last five, I think. Um, anyway, it's a very special day today because it's a Friday, and this is where I have been honoured to invite feast friends in, people who've come to the feast many for many years, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to host this room. And tonight, or today, shall I say, we have a very dear friend to Feast and to myself personally, and that's Shaun Glossop. So I'm just going to highlight you, Shaun, at the same time. Welcome. Thank you, Shaun. So I'll introduce you now. Shaun is a UK-based mindfulness and meditation teacher and co-founder of the Nottingham Mindfulness Group, one of the region's most active and thriving meditation communities, and it is a certified MBCT, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy coach. He teaches people affected by cancer and also supports those in recovery from addiction. With over 25 years of personal practice and professional teaching experience since 2014, Shaun has guided thousands through mindfulness training, drawing on Buddhist, Vedic, Tantric, and contemplative traditions, as well as contemporary science-informed approaches. Known for his warmth and clarity, Shaun helps people use meditation as a practical tool for well-being, transformation, and flourishing in daily life. So Shaun today is going to lead us in a meditation, and then we're going to stay online with the recording, and we're going to move into a conversation regarding the mindful perspective of radical compassion. It could be very interesting. So Shaun, thank you so much, and I pass over to you.
Thank you, Sue. And it's a pleasure and a delight to be with everybody this evening and to have this great honour of being able to share one of the Feast for the Soul Friday sessions with everybody. I think the idea is that we open with a period of guided meditation. So with that in mind, if I can invite everybody to move into a comfortable posture for probably round about 20 minutes or so of guided meditation. And I would invite you to try and move into the most comfortable posture that is practical and possible for you where you are this evening. And just take a moment or two to get yourself really comfortable. In modern secular mindfulness, which is the tradition I principally teach, there's no requirement to move into a fixed or a rigid posture. And in fact, we would generally invite people to move into the position that is most comfortable for them right now. For some people, that might be sitting upright in a quite composed posture. For other people, it might be laying down, if that's an option that's practical for you right now. Other people might want to kind of snuggle into the chair, possibly even cuddle a cushion. Just moving into whatever position or posture is genuinely going to be the most comfortable for you right now, and for the next 20 minutes or so. And just giving yourself a moment or two to find that posture and to just settle in the most comfortable way. Can be helpful just to relax and free up the shoulders a little bit. If you're feeling a little bit exuberant, that can be done by rolling the shoulders 2 or 3 times, but otherwise just allowing the shoulders to drop so they're just a little bit lower than they normally would be. And that just allows a little bit of relaxation to begin in the shoulders, which can be helpful. We tend to carry a lot of our stress and tension around with us in the shoulders, often not even noticing it's there because we're just so familiar with it and so accustomed to it. So yeah, just freeing up the shoulders a little, but otherwise allowing your arms to rest comfortably and easily at your sides. It can also be helpful just to relax the hands a little bit. This works for some people. I find it quite useful. That's easily done just by flexing the fingers 3 or 4 times and then just allowing the hands to relax and soften. And just resting the hands in whatever position will feel most comfortable for you right now. In modern secular mindfulness, there's no correct position or posture to have the hands in, unlike with some other meditation traditions. But whether you have a fixed posture you like to adopt, or whether you just want to rest the hands restfully right now, just allowing the hands to be comfortable and at ease in whatever position feels best for you. And as we continue together, just to take a moment or two to allow ourselves to settle and perhaps to begin to relax into this, I would invite you just to take a moment or two just to reflect on the simple fact that right here, right now, these next few minutes of time which we've all decided to share together. So right now, for all of us, in these next few minutes, we're in a very unusual position for us busy people, and that is right now we have a few minutes of time together in which nobody wants anything from us, nobody needs anything from us right now. There's nothing else that we could really be doing in this moment as we're all here together. And what's more, there's no need to try and make anything be different right now. So we really are together in a position whereby we truly can just let go and relax and just allow everything to be just as it is. Just settling and just relaxing. And for the next few minutes of time, just allowing everything to unfold in its own way, just as best as you can achieve that. And now, very gently, as we continue to settle, just refocusing your awareness, your attention on simply noticing your experience right now, just noticing what is real for you in your experience in this moment. That's often most easily done by simply noticing and feeling the weight of our own body and just noticing how the weight of the body is resting down, indeed sinking down very gently into the surface beneath us. And you might even want to allow the weight of your body to rest down just a little bit more deeply into the chair or the cushion or the sofa or the bed. Perhaps allowing your body to soften and relax just a little bit more as you trust that soft, supported surface beneath you to hold you and support you. And just allowing the weight of your body to rest down very gently into that support. And now I invite you to simply notice the flow of sensations in those parts of your body that are in contact with the surface beneath you. And see if you can bring that flow of sensations into the foreground of your awareness. These are the type of sensations that we wouldn't normally pay very much attention to. But just for now, just for the next moment or two, just let this stream of sensations fill your awareness. And see if you can allow yourself, just for the next few moments, to fully feel this dance of sensations just as it is right now in this moment. Perhaps discovering that this is a very fluid and dynamic stream of sensations, with new sensations constantly arising, whilst other sensations are constantly dissolving, and just letting this dance of sensations fill your awareness. And see if you can be in direct contact with the actual sensations themselves. So, not settling for any idea that the mind might want to create about how these sensations probably feel, but instead just allowing yourself to fully and directly feel these sensations just as they are right now, and just allowing this stream of sensations to fill your awareness. And now, very gently letting go of those sensations and expanding your awareness throughout the whole of the body, and just noticing what other sensations your body can feel right now. That will probably include the sensation of your feet resting against the floor or the cushion or the bed. And it will also probably include the soft caress of clothing and fabric in contact with the surface of your skin. And you might even be able to feel the incredibly subtle sensation of the air moving across the surface of your skin. And we can even take our connection to our sense of touch to a deeper and subtler level still, by just noticing the temperature of the room that we're in. And see if you can simply rest back and just be the witness, the observer of this constellation of sensations that is your body, still and at rest in this moment. And just allowing yourself to float amidst this field of sensations. And if for you there are some sensations present within the body too, even if that's a sore joint or a stiff muscle, then just allowing these sensations to be part of this bigger picture of sensation. So not pushing any sensation away and not excluding anything. In fact, just allowing everything to be just as it is right now, while you just rest back and watch. Just resting, just relaxing, and just floating amidst this field of sensation. And now, very gently, expanding the scope of our awareness just one small step further to also include sound and hearing, and just noticing the sounds that you can hear where you are right now. For some people, that might simply be the stillness and silence of the room that they're in. And in that case, just listening to the silence. For other people, there might be some sounds present close at hand, perhaps the ticking of a clock, or some sounds coming from elsewhere in the house or the flat or the building. And for others, there might also be sounds present from outside, perhaps the sound of traffic, sounds from the street. And maybe you can hear some incredibly faint sounds far, far away in the distance. Just being open to all of this ocean of sound that surrounds us in all directions, and just letting the different sounds wash through you, almost as though they're a physical sensation. And see if you can let go of the tendency to want to name or label or analyze each sound, and instead just allow yourself to experience each sound, letting each sound be a ripple in the spaciousness of our awareness, and seeing if you can savor and relish the different tones and textures and qualities of the sounds. And noticing how some sounds are fairly constant, whilst other sounds arise and then change and then pass. And noticing also how you don't have to do anything in order to hear these sounds or experience these sensations in the body. Because all of this constant play of sound and sensation, it all just arises spontaneously in the spaciousness of our awareness. So, for the next few minutes of this period of meditation, there's absolutely nothing that you need to do. You truly can just let go and relax and allow everything to be just as it is. Just resting, just relaxing, and allowing everything to unfold in its own way. And now, as we continue to rest together in stillness, I just invite you to notice that you're breathing. Just noticing the gentle wave-like motion of the breath. And see if you can find the place where you can feel the physical sensations of breathing most clearly, and just allow your awareness to rest there. For some people, the sensation of the breath can be felt most clearly in the movement of the air against the nostrils, feeling the air as it's drawn in and feeling the air as it flows out. For other people, the gentle rhythm of the breath can be felt most clearly in the rising and falling of the chest, or in the very subtle expansion and contraction of the abdomen. but just finding the place where you can feel the motion of your own breath most clearly, and just allowing your awareness to rest there, just resting back into the gentle wave-like motion of the breath, feeling the in-breath and feeling the out-breath, and just noticing the short pauses in between. Noticing perhaps how the body rises very slightly with the in-breath and falls back very slightly with the out-breath. And just letting this wave-like motion of the breath fill your awareness. Like a small boat riding the gentle waves of a calm ocean or lake, just rising with the in-breath and falling with the out-breath, and just letting the wave-like motion of the breath fill your awareness. And each time you notice that the momentum of the mind has drawn your attention away back into thinking or planning or daydreaming, then simply noticing whereabouts the mind has taken you to, and then very gently but firmly letting go of the thoughts and guiding your awareness back to the breath, just coming home to the gentle wave-like motion of the breath, feeling the in-breath and feeling the out-breath, and just letting yourself dissolve into those pauses in between, rising with the in-breath and falling with the out-breath, and just letting the wave-like motion of the breath fill your awareness. Just riding the rhythm of the breath. And now, very gently letting go of the breath and allowing your awareness to expand once again throughout the whole of the body. Feeling your feet resting in contact with the floor or the cushion or the bed. Feeling your legs and your thighs in contact with the seat or surface beneath you. Feeling your fingers and your hands. Feeling your arm. Feeling your tummy and torso. Feeling your chest. Feeling your shoulders, your neck, your face, and your head. And for just one more minute now, just being aware of the whole body, sitting relaxed and gently breathing, and just holding the experience of this moment in the spaciousness of awareness. And now, very gently, when you feel ready and entirely in your own time, at your own pace, just beginning to transition back. Perhaps beginning by just moving fingers and toes just a little. Then perhaps just stretching the body just a little bit. Then maybe stretching a little bit more vigorously. Opening your eyes when you're ready, but first of all, just look around you and just reconnect with the room or the environment you're in. And just notice some of the details, the colors, the textures, the patterns. Maybe noticing the grain in any wood that's around. Just noticing the room, reconnecting with the details. And then when you feel ready, just reconnecting with the screen and with the rest of us here in this feast for the soul gathered. There we go, just taking a moment or two to fully transition back. And can I just check in with everybody who's here live? Is everybody okay after that? Okay. There we go.
Thank you, Shaun.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. So as we're coming back into this world gently, um, from this place of inner peace and feeling that beautiful alignment, I'm just going to invite everybody just to take a deep, deep belly breath, maybe just rub our hands before we move into a conversation where we're going to talk about the radical compassion or your mindfulness perspective of radical compassion. So it's a gentle flowing conversation. So sit back, everybody, and just feel into the beautiful teachings. I'm going to ask Shaun just a few questions. But Shaun has such a wealth of experience. I know personally because we've done quite a bit of work together in our community, and I really value the perspective that you hold dear on compassion. So again, a huge thank you for you coming to share this with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So compassion is often seen as a soft uh, way of being, um, and in our culture, have we misunderstood the true nature of compassion as being soft and often fluffy?
Yeah, absolutely. Within modern westernized culture, there's a huge misunderstanding, a fundamental misunderstanding actually as to what compassion really is. We've um, we've turned compassion, we've domesticated the idea of compassion. We've turned it in to this kind of fluffy, pleasant attribute that we associate as being something that's on one level a nice thing to be, a nice quality to be able to extend to people. Underneath that, we do have a little bit of reservation because we suspect this might be a bit dangerous, this business of trying to, always look after others. And isn't that a bit dangerous? Doesn't that mean I might be putting myself in a position where more's being asked from me, or where maybe I need to not put myself first? So there's a bit of hesitation around it. But over that, we've laid this veneer, this quite saccharine exterior. So we've done the same thing with kindness, by the way. We've turned it into, a kind of sugar-coated, nicey nice principle that's seen as being very virtuous to have, but in essence boils down to being kind to other people by letting other people have what they want. That's fundamentally what we've reduced it down to. And it's a tragedy because compassion isn't actually about that at all whatsoever. Compassion, real compassion, can often involve actually saying no to people and withholding what it is they're pushing for on the basis that it's not going to be a good or sensible or beneficial thing for them, for us to give it. But my biggest grievance with what we've done to the concept of compassion is that we've trivialized it in a certain sense and we've misrepresented it, because compassion is fundamentally a very grounded and actually quite a gritty, and a term I often use about it is that it's quite hard-nosed, authentic compassion. And yet we completely misrepresent it. We dress it up in a way that doesn't relate to what authentic compassion is at all. And that lulls most people into a real misunderstanding around what it is. It also lulls people into a sense that if they're being super kind to other people, and people generally interpret that as meaning they're giving other people what they want or helping other people to get to what they want. If we're doing that, then we're a compassionate person. And in fact, that's not the real heart or nitty-grittiness of what compassion is at all. So we're setting ourselves, culturally, we're setting ourselves up to fail on this one right from the get-go, because we're not talking honestly and openly and vigorously about what authentic compassion actually is. So yeah, no, I would say absolutely. We have a complete misunderstanding within our culture about what compassion is, and that's counterproductive in another way, because not only does it kind of set people off down the wrong track or even set them up to fail when it comes to being compassionate, it's also counterproductive in the sense that this artificial, saccharine, quite fluffy and rosy idea we've got about what compassion is actively puts a lot of people off. This can be a particular problem for men, for guys, when they're trying to engage or when they're being advised to engage with compassion. That concept can be a bit of a turn-off for them. And that's a shame, because a lot of people back away from compassion on that basis, and that understanding of compassion is wrong anyway. So their grounds for feeling either threatened by compassion or backing away from it are completely bogus, because what they're worried about isn't what compassion actually is in the first place. So no, I'd agree entirely with you, the sentiment
Yeah.
there.
So I know through your teachings that true compassion sometimes requires us to both allow and tolerate emotional discomfort. Would you expand on that for us, Sean?
Yeah, sure. It's one of the big challenges that authentic compassion extends to us, because as human beings, as sentient beings, we have a deep-rooted instinct to back away from suffering and from difficulty, particularly our own emotional difficulty or suffering. And our reflex action is to want to shut that down, want to shut that sensation down and to get rid of it at pretty much any costs, generally. It's what gets us into an awful lot of trouble, is the fact that we're just on this desperate quest most of the time to be rid of anything that's uncomfortable or is a little bit emotionally challenging for us. And that makes authentic compassion, this gritty stuff I'm talking about as being compassion, seriously challenging right from the word go. And it's for two reasons. One is because authentic compassion requires us to recognize and to be aware of the difficulty and suffering that other people are having, or when it comes to self-compassion, that we ourselves are having. And that means being prepared to open to the reality of situations and to the tough situations and the suffering that is involved. And generally, we don't want to do that because our reflex action is we want to look away. We don't want to have to focus on that. So, authentic compassion requires a willingness to see and to notice and to focus on the suffering that's happening around us, or indeed our own suffering when we're talking about self-compassion. But it gets worse from the challenge point of view, because not only, incidentally, this is because true compassion, I'm sure everybody here knows this, but just in case, true compassion, the dictionary definition of compassion, is to see suffering and to feel an impetus to act in order to counteract the suffering, to remedy the suffering. So authentic suffering is seeing suffering and having an impulse arise within you that you want to act in order to alleviate that suffering. And that bit of compassion is actually quite straightforward, because the way human beings are hardwired, that impulse arises instantly and naturally within us. If you're a normal, well-balanced human being, that will arise instantly within you the moment that you see suffering. However, it requires us to engage with that. And there is also this reflex action to want to disengage and to want to turn away from anything that's uncomfortable or unpleasant. But there's a further dimension to authentic compassion that can be really difficult, because sometimes we will witness suffering, real suffering in the world, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Because it is not within the scope of our power or our ability to act and to do something about this. And that instantly puts us into quite a tricky position, because authentic compassion requires us to cultivate the capacity to see suffering and difficulty in the world, and to continue to witness it and hold it with a sense of compassion, but to also have the wisdom to recognize when it is the case that actually I can do nothing about this. And in that situation, because compassion always requires wisdom, but in that situation, what we're asked to do is to continue to witness and hold the compassion, and to maybe extend sympathy towards those who are suffering. Sympathy is different to compassion. Sympathy is to witness suffering or difficulty and to feel the suffering and difficulty yourself. But sympathy doesn't necessarily involve the impetus to act. So authentic compassion can require us sometimes to move into sympathy for a situation, but to hold wisely to the fact that I can do nothing about this. I can't make this different. I can't change it. And that's quite a big ask of people. Something anybody can do. These are all skills.
Yeah.
It's not that people are born particularly good at this. It's that life experience trains us, or we choose to train ourselves in this skill set, in this capacity. But authentic compassion means always being willing to see, always being willing to observe the truth of a situation and to recognize the suffering there. And our first port of call is, can I do anything about this? Realistically, can I act to alleviate this suffering in any way? But sometimes the answer to that's going to be no. And then we need to be willing to default into sympathy and support, if we can give it reasonably in some way, shape, or form, but in full recognition of the fact that I can't change this. I can't make it different. That's why in many traditions, including the mindfulness tradition, that's why this is always taught, compassion is always taught in conjunction with equanimity, because it requires the ability to hold the balanced center ground, including at the times when we're having to witness something that's difficult and challenging, but we can't do anything about it. It's not within our power to act.
And it's I hear exactly what you say, but what's happening in the world now, because we're being shown so much, there's in a way I would maybe suggest some compassion fatigue. And then there's a bit of helplessness that goes with that. Um, would you describe equanimity? Because on Feast this year we're looking at inner peace, harmony. So the peacefulness from the practice, the harmony, the alignment that comes with that sense of peacefulness, that raised awareness, and compassionate living automatically move into in a kind of gentler way, but not soft and fluffy,
Yeah.
courageous. So equanimity, that's an interesting word.
Yeah, it's quite a strange word to many people. It's not a word that we use widely in everyday conversation. So often people can be a bit, "Ooh, what's that? What does that mean?" And equanimity, the word itself just means balance. That's all it means. But when we're using equanimity in this context, what we're talking about is to have a capacity within ourselves to remain emotionally balanced,
Mm,
regardless of the challenges or difficulties that life is throwing at us personally, but also regardless to the difficulty and suffering that we may be witnessing around us. So it's not about not feeling. This is the important thing to recognize. Most people think it's a sense of numbing out when you start to explain it this way.
yeah.
It's not numbing out at all. It's cultivating the capacity to see and to feel the appropriate emotional response to what is happening, but to not be overwhelmed by that,
Mm,
and to be able to remain balanced and to be able to have the internal capacity, the internal spaciousness to be able to hold what you're seeing, to be able to hold what you're feeling or any reactions you're having around it without being swamped or overwhelmed by it. And there are some simple, straightforward practices that can be used that actually expand the capacity of our equanimity so that we can do that, so that we can do exactly that. And yeah, one of the challenges of authentic compassion is very often that if people don't do training in equanimity, there's the very real risk they'll be swamped
yeah.
and overwhelmed by it, which loops back to your point at the beginning of this question about compassion fatigue. Um, yeah, part of this training is to cultivate the internal capacity to be able to hold these things. And again, anyone can do it. The equanimity is also just a skill set. Anyone can learn it and can grow it.
Mm,
Also, an important thing to bear in mind with regard to this, though, is compassion and empathy. They're not about feeling for somebody, they're about feeling with them. Um, and that's a subtle and quite nuanced distinction, but it's an important one because it's when we feel that we should be feeling for somebody, that's when we will get swamped and overwhelmed by it. The capacity to feel with them, yeah, I feel your pain, brother. I recognize this. I'm with you. That's infinite, but you will get overwhelmed if you are putting yourself in a place where you're vicariously feeling for somebody else, then it will be too much.
yes, yeah. Oof. You often say that true compassion can be summed up in one word.
I do indeed, yes.
So,
The word that you absolutely love, Sarah. I know that because it's the word that sits at the heart of much of your own teaching. Um, yeah, when I'm teaching about compassion, when I'm trying to explain compassion to a room full of people, um, something I'm very careful about is not letting it become overcomplicated or whatever. And it doesn't need to be, because compassion, true, authentic compassion, is dead simple. True compassion is about caring, full stop. It's about caring for yourself. It's about caring for others. It's about caring for the world. And the moment you're able to do that, it's the moment you are able to genuinely care for yourself, others, and the world. Hey, presto, instantly you've got the capacity for compassion, because that's what compassion is. It's caring.
mm, oh, you're talking to my heart here. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, and as you say, the big thing I sense is the overwhelm comes when you care for others, um, again and again and again, which is a natural emotional response. But really starting to fully become aware of the ability to care for yourself and the okayness. I know that's not a very good term, but the actual willingness to say, I need to take some time out really to care for myself is fundamental to compassion, isn't it?
No, 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 absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't care well for other people unless you're caring well for yourself, because you'll just burn out.
Yeah.
You'll become exhausted and then you're no good. You're
Yeah.
no help to anybody. You even run the risk of becoming a problem yourself.
Mm,
You've got to be taking good care of yourself physically, but also emotionally,
Yeah.
um, and doing plenty of self-nurture, then you can support others and care for others from a place of abundance. You've got resource to give.
So, what's the biggest obstacle to us cultivating truly compassionate nature?
There's a number of there's quite a bit of trickiness with regard to compassion. Some of them I've touched on already. There can be some initial challenges in getting to this. But once we start to master the training and the technique, because as I said, this is all a skill set, I personally feel, and it's not just my own experience, it's what I've witnessed amongst the people I teach, the big stretch eventually comes with the fact that authentic compassion has to be extended even-handedly to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're talking about being compassionate in your point of view towards the world or towards others, you can't be prioritizing the people you like or the people you agree with, and you can't be not extending compassion to the people that annoy you or hold different opinions to you or are a pain in the backside. Yeah. And as we begin this work of cultivating compassion, one of the biggest challenge that comes down the line to us is cultivating the capacity within us to recognize that compassion is about recognizing suffering, feeling the impetus to want to act to relieve the suffering, and then, if we can, following through on relieving the suffering. Yeah. But that applies to all suffering. And a big inhibition in moving into the fullest flowering, the fullest blossoming of authentic compassion for most people is getting beyond the point where you can, with a degree of ease, extend kindness and compassion to people you know, people you like, people you agree with, and moving beyond that to being able to extend authentic compassion to people you don't know, to people you don't like, to people you actively disagree with. That's when you've moved into the realms of authentic compassion. And the big challenge with that is we have to get ourselves beyond the incorrect thinking, the bogus point of view that if I'm extending compassion to somebody, then I'm agreeing with them. That's not true at all. Compassion is to care about somebody and to seek to alleviate their suffering. It doesn't mean you have to agree with their point of view. It doesn't mean you have to like their politics or their point of view on anything. It doesn't mean you have to like them. Yeah. It is perfectly possible to be a profoundly compassionate person, but not to particularly like anybody. You do not have to like somebody to extend compassion or kindness to them. Yeah, we've got this idea that compassion and kindness are dependent on liking people. They're
Mm.
absolutely not. If what you're doing is extending a form of, a sort of compassion and kindness to people you know or people you like, then you're either just virtue signaling or you're doing something that's quite transactional.
Mm.
Authentic compassion, like authentic kindness, is not transactional. It is about witnessing suffering, recognizing it as suffering, and where you can, seeking to alleviate the suffering, regardless of who is suffering. And that's the big, big, big challenge that lies deep at the heart of true compassion. If we're
Mm.
being compassionate, we're compassionate towards everybody. If we're genuinely caring about ourselves, others, and the world, then we care about everybody, including the people we don't like, including the people we passionately disagree with, including the people who we may feel their views are dangerous, including the people that we just find a complete pain in the butt. Everybody gets to benefit from compassion, kindness, and caring. Doesn't mean we have to like them, doesn't mean we have to socialize with them, doesn't mean we have to embrace them into our social circle. It does mean we have to care enough about them because they're a human being, because they're a sentient being, that we want to relieve any undue suffering they're experiencing.
Mm. And then it doesn't take your energy, does it? You remain in this state of, as you say, equanimity, despite what's going on around you. It's not necessarily that you're condoning it, it's that you're witnessing it, you're bearing witness, you're feeling the emotion of it, but you're able to not let it deeply affect the inner peace that you continue to have with the practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. People
Mm,
get really caught up on the idea that to extend kindness or care or compassion to another human being means you're endorsing that person and that person's views, positions, outlooks, religious disposition, whatever it may be. It doesn't mean that at all. You can passionately disagree with somebody. You can intensely dislike somebody. You can feel that someone's views are dangerous. Yeah, and still hold a situation where you do not feel it's acceptable for that person to unduly and unnecessarily suffer.
mm. And I wonder if that takes courage.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
a word that I love, because yeah, I sense that courage isn't given to you by another. Dutch courage, maybe, you get triggered into doing something maybe you don't want to do, but true courage is generated from within. And that's again another skill, isn't it? So that you can courageously hold that sort of energetic field of love, care, and compassion. And
Yeah, and that is absolutely true. Sometimes in my teaching, I say that compassion and courage are the same thing. They're
mm,
just reverse sides of the same coin. It
mm,
takes real courage often to act and to extend compassion to somebody else. And
yeah.
what's interesting, Sue, just to pick up on the point you were making, is when mindfulness-based formal compassion training is sometimes taken into men's prisons, often into prisons where there are um, prisoners who have histories of extreme violence, can be killers, can be murderers, gangland activity. When this training is taken into those environments, yeah, because it's recognized that the word compassion is probably going to be an absolute turn-off in this
Mm.
environment. The substitute term that's used for it is that it's a training in courage.
Oh,
The,
interesting.
yeah, the C word compassion is traded out for the C word
Yeah.
courage
Mm.
when the training is taken into those environments.
How
Because that will get the men to engage, but also it's absolutely true.
yeah.
It's a perfectly
And
true statement.
yeah. Well, Sean, we could talk forever. We usually do.
Yes,
Um,
over coffee we often do. Yeah.
Thank you so much. There's so many rich nuggets in there. Um, I'm so thrilled that we've had this. Last night, or yesterday, we led a meditation in loving kindness. Metta meditation, which is so wonderful that you've shared what you've shared tonight, because of course it's looking at yourself, others, somebody neutral, and somebody that actually maybe you don't like, or somebody you'd rather, and sensing the feelings that come from there. So it's beautifully flowing. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome.